We know next season for the Knicks that Jalen, Brunson, and Julius Randle will be the number 1 and number 2 options on the offensive side of the ball. But what about Mikal Bridges? What is his role going to be on the offensive end for the Knicks? Well, according to Fred Katz of The Athletic, he states that Mikal Bridges could play significant time with the bench unit. We're going to break down these latest reports and so much more today. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button now. And make sure you have notifications turned on so you don't miss a second of the new content. And now, let's get started. We have the latest updates on Mikal Bridges and his role on offense for the Knicks next season. This is the information I have been waiting on. We knew that Jalen Brunson was going to be the head of the snake, the main option on offense next season for the Knicks. We knew after him, it was likely going to be a healthy Julius Randle. But what about after Randle? And what about on some nights when Randle doesn't have it going? Who else is going to have a role on the offensive side of the ball? Is it going to be Mikal Bridges? Is it going to be Donte DiVincenzo? Is it going to be OG Anunoby? And even if it's Mikal Bridges, what type of role is he going to have on the offensive side of the ball for this Knicks team when you have players like Jalen and Julius on the roster? Well, thanks to Fred Katz of The Athletic, he gave us the following updates about Mikal and his role on the offensive side of the ball for the Knicks next season. According to Fred Katz, he states the following. Thibodeau traditionally runs a 9-man rotation, which means including at least one starter with the second unit. Who might that player be? Bridges would make sense as the addition. The Knicks value Miles Deuce McBride off the bench, but view him as more of a wing who is the size of a point guard than a player with point guard traits. Bridges could run the second unit with McBride acting as a dangerous spacer in the half court. He shot 42% on catch and shoot 3-pointers last season. Katz continues here by stating, Bridges might receive the chance to run bench units in New York, which could hand him more facilitating opportunities. He has improved as a passer since his Phoenix days, but Brunson is above him on the ball handling hierarchy, as is Randle. Thibodeau could use Randle with the reserves, a strategy he attempted but got away from quickly after the trade for Anunoby. Randle struggled with the second unit, especially when double teams swarmed him on the block. But maybe a new season, a revised roster, a training camp to game plan could change that execution and what it could mean for Randle in that second unit. But clearly, it doesn't look like Tom Thibodeau would want to have Randle in that second unit, given his struggles when he was playing with that unit last year. When you think about the first substitution off the bench and you look at what the Knicks are trying to do, it's clear. The OG Anunoby effect, the effect that OG has on the starters and that level of defense, the Knicks want to try to replicate that with Mikal Bridges running with the bench unit. But the only difference here is even though Mikal can give you that level of defense with the bench unit, he can also run an offense as well too. He is a great passer. He's improved in that standpoint, especially since he was traded to the Brooklyn Nets. And now I think with him running with the bench unit, I think that makes a lot of sense for this Knicks team and what they're trying to do and build. And if you're looking for the opportunities where Mikal Bridges can thrive, he's really only going to find that with the bench unit. Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle by far are going to run the offensive end with the starters. I'm not saying other starters aren't going to get involved. They are, because sacrifice is going to be needed. However, if you're looking about consistency and where Bridges is going to find his game on offense a lot more, it's going to be with the bench unit. I can absolutely see Tom Thibodeau early on substituting Bridges for Donte DiVincenzo. And then in that second quarter, you're going to see Bridges run with that second unit and you're going to see damage happen. Because whether it's Deuce McBride stretching the floor and hitting those dagger threes, or it's Mikal Bridges going into the paint, penetrating and creating, hitting 3-point shots, getting mid-range shots to go in, or playmaking and making his team better, Bridges is going to give you all of that and more. And then when you need to have OG and Mikal in the game together, you can do that. You can make that switch if you're Tom Thibodeau. But if you're looking to have the level of defense that you have with OG Anunoby and the starters, the best way to replicate that or get the closest thing to it would be to add Mikal Bridges to that bench unit. Now, obviously, you're not going to have Mikal Bridges come off the bench. That doesn't make any sense. What does make sense is keeping Mikal in the starting lineup and then, depending how the game is going and who you're facing, making smart substitutions. Starting with Mikal, of course, and then having him play with the bench unit as much as possible because that's where he's going to have his offensive game. You're going to see him play make a lot more there as well, too. I'm not saying he's not going to get those opportunities with the starting unit. I'm just saying, in my opinion, it's likely going to come a lot less with the starters, and with the bench, he'll have an opportunity to make that bench unit his. He'll be able to run it, do whatever he wants to do on the offensive end, and defensively, given the way he can switch, Mikal Bridges will be a monster for the Knicks off the bench and could have the same level of impact on defense that OG Anunoby has with the starters. And that's something worth noting. And as an opposing team, you're not going to know what to do because the starters are going to stifle you on defense. The bench is going to stifle you on defense. They're going to be able to run without Jalen during some stretches. That means Jalen gets to rest, and when he comes back, even more fresh, even more healthy. What do you think that's going to mean? It's going to mean even more destruction. That's why this roster is so dangerous. Now, you might be asking yourself, why does it have to be Mikal Bridges that gets the early substitution for Donte DiVincenzo? Why not do it for OG Anunoby instead? That's a good question. And according to Fred Katz, he helps give us that information. According to Katz, Anunoby wouldn't provide the same level of facilitating, but he could wreak havoc in transition while turning the bench lineup into one of the NBA's stingiest backup units. With McBride, DiVincenzo, Hart, Anunoby, and Achua, the Knicks would have no holes, even if that lineup would lack an obvious rim protector. Tom Thibodeau could go another route too, choosing to keep two starters on the court at all times. Though, if he did that, that would deviate from how he historically rotates players. So as Fred Katz just highlighted here, the reason that the Knicks and Tom Thibodeau would likely substitute Mikal Bridges for Donte DiVincenzo first is because of the way Bridges can facilitate and handle the ball, the way he passes, his playmaking. It's just better than OG Anunoby right now. And because of that, him running with the bench unit sounds even more deadly because he gives you a similar level of defense as Anunoby, but his playmaking is next level. And it allows Jalen Brunson to get more rest, come back into the game healthy, and then he can wreak havoc. It's just nonstop. You get hit with wave after wave after wave of consistent offense and consistent stifling defense. As Tom Thibodeau being your head coach, what else could you be wanting? What else could you look for? Now, I want to make something clear. Even though Fred Katz stated that Mikal Bridges is going to play significant minutes with the bench unit, it doesn't mean he's going to come off the bench, and it certainly doesn't mean he's not going to have an impact with the starters. I've said it in a couple of videos before, and I'll say it again. This Knicks team, in order for them to go all the way to the NBA Finals, they're going to have to sacrifice. Some nights it's going to be Jalen's night. Some nights it's going to be Julius' nights. Some nights it's going to be Mikal's night or OG's night or Donte's night. But either way, it's all about winning games, getting those victories, and moving one step closer to the postseason and one step closer to the NBA Finals. That's the goal. That's why, even though Mikal Bridges will play with the bench unit, he might catch one night where he catches fire with the starting unit and he'll play significant time with them. It's all about the impact he's having, what's happening on that court, and who they're facing at the time. All of those things are going to be factors in deciding what Tom Thibodeau does and who's going to run with the bench unit on that specific night. But on most nights, I think it's pretty clear, according to Fred Katz, that person that Tom Thibodeau is going to stagger with the bench is going to be Mikal Bridges. And that's where he's going to find his offense. Defensively, you're going to see him shine with the starting unit. But with the bench unit, when he's running with them, you're going to see a different Mikal, a playmaking Mikal, an offensive monster Mikal, somebody who has all of the faith in the world in his role and what he's doing. Next season, you're going to see a career year from Mikal Bridges. And it's because of the way that the Knicks are going to use him that you're going to see that impact. But what about you guys? What do you think about the following reports indicating that Mikal Bridges' role on offense will likely come when he's staggered with the bench unit? Something that Fred Katz is indicating will happen next season. Let me know in the comments below, guys, because honestly, I would love to hear from you. But that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, go ahead and smash that like button, leave a comment below, and of course, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knicks fans. Peace.